everybody. Well, the championship may be decided in Michael's favour. The teams may be only one day away from a month-long holiday in the sun. They can almost smell the suntan oil. But the competitive atmosphere in the pit lane today is as intense as if it were a championship decider. Everyone wants to go out on a high this afternoon. Schumacher, well, he's been off form for the last 2 races, but this weekend, I can tell you he's been working as hard as he did all summer. It's his way of apologising perhaps to the team for his understandable dip in form in the last 2 races. He wants to present them today with an emphatic win. Next door at McLaren, Mika Hakkinen starting his last race. You heard from him talking to Martin just a few moments ago before he goes off on a sabbatical year. He may come back, maybe he won't in 2003. But certainly, he said yesterday, he will be coming along to races next year, so he's going to keep a keen interest and involvement in the McLaren team and in Formula One. Can he carry forward the form, the devastating form he showed 2 weeks ago, winning at Indianapolis? Next door to them at BMW Williams, Juan Montoya, or Monster, as he is now known by the team mechanics and management, and Ralf Schumacher, well, they're fighting like bitchy schoolgirls for supremacy in that team. And it's only going to get more intense. Jean Alesi, he wants to go out on a high today in his 201st and last Grand Prix. Benetton, it's their last race before they become Renault. They have a sniff of the points today. Giancarlo Fisichella 6th on the grid. Jenson Button 9th. All this then being played out in front of an estimated 130,000 crowd, all highly excited because, Martin, Formula One is basically fashionable again now in Japan. Not since the days of Ayrton Senna have I seen so many young, excited faces in the crowd coming in this morning in the grandstands as we walk up here to our commentary position. Formula One is hip again in this country, isn't it?
I think so, especially with Sato signing now for Jordan, Toyota coming to Formula One, Honda already here. It is in the ascendancy, and there's a great feeling in the crowd. You walk through the fairground here that's a part of this racetrack, and it is truly spectacular. There's a calm in the paddock that's now building on the grid, and it's going to be an interesting afternoon. How long will it be before the tyres, the Michelin tyres on the Williams, really start to work for them today? Michael Schumacher, I think if he gets into the first corner first, will scamper off into the distance while the Williams get up to speed. That will affect Barrichello. Coulthard and Hakkinen 7th and 5th respectively, and they've got the 2 Benettons around them that have been so mighty off the start since the Belgium Grand Prix. So they, I think, if they get ahead of the McLarens, they're going to hold them up. I don't think the Benettons have a front-running race pace. I don't underestimate Trulli and Alesi in 8th and 11th. The Jordan working well here this weekend. So an interesting afternoon ahead of us. It's a 2-stopper, really. It takes about 24 seconds to get down the pit lane, get fuel for each of those 2 stops. 3's possible, 1's a no-brainer. It's half a minute slower. So expect the bulk of them in around lap 23.
But Martin, you've driven here many times before. This is one of the racetracks. It's probably the most difficult racetrack to read during the race. I've talked to a few engineers this weekend. They say we really have to improvise here because track conditions, the heat, the temperature, the amount of rubber going down, they all affect the performance of the cars. So you have a basic plan in your mind, but you often have to improvise with it.
Well, it's all about tyre wear, that's why, and if there's any surprises with track temperature or overall wear, or the balance of your car is not as you expected in the race and you're wearing one end or the other of the tyres, then you do have to improvise, and it's even harder for the drivers. It's a 5.5 kilometre, 3.6 mile lap, and you do tend to lose track of the rest of the race, a bit like the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. It's such a long circuit, but this is all about tyres here because so many of the corners lead. The exit of one is the entrance to the next, and when your tyres go away, you just can't carry the speed. You start losing up to 2.5 seconds a lap when your tyres go away.
So when they come back again, or in fact if we get a chance to have a close-up now, just look and see the difference between the Bridgestone cars like Ferrari and McLaren. They'll be starting with brand new tyres here this afternoon, whereas the Michelin teams like Williams and Benetton, they'll be starting with tyres that have done 15, maybe even 20 laps on them.
You can see a yellow flag out of the window here, right at the back of the grid. There's an arrows not getting away.
It's Benaldi.
We think it's Benaldi. Yeah, it is indeed Benaldi. So they'll restart that car, and hopefully he will rejoin. He was in 20th place anyway, so it's not going to cost him too much. He will, of course, start at the back of the field now. So they're on their way through turns 5 and 6, and that long left-hander uphill. But Benaldi then still not able to start that Asiatech engine.
Amazingly, this Enrique Benoldi, you see the rear wheels spinning, they're going to have to drop it down off the jacks. Enrique Benoldi's actually out-qualified Jos Verstappen 10-7 this season. He's been sort of in the shadows throughout this Formula One championship. Some doubt about whether he'll keep his drive for next year with arrows or indeed keep a place in Formula One at all. And yet if you look at the statistics, he's been pretty fast. It's just in the races he's let himself down. Through the hairpin then go the front runners, building up, the heartbeats building up as well in preparation for this so important start to the last Grand Prix of the season.
Now this is an interesting scenario, James. Benoldi's still on the line. They're 2/3 the way around the reconnaissance lap, the green flag lap. Warm-up lap, call it what you will, but Benoldi is still here on the start, and now they're having to drop it down and push it off the line, otherwise he's going to interfere with the start of this Grand Prix, and they will not let that happen.
They've got a gap in the wall about 30 metres behind where Benoldi's car is. He's being pushed back, he should make it. You can see the front runners now just coming over the crisscross area, the figure-of-8 circuit. There you see, that's the point at which the two figure-of-8s cross. That's the 130R corner, very famous 180 mile an hour. Hold on tight and hang on for dear life corner. And you can see Schumacher slowing the front runners down. I can tell you Benoldi now, his car just being pushed through that gap into the pit wall as we see Alex Young cruising slowly down the pit lane.
Okay, so Young obviously didn't make the grid at all. He will start after the rest of the cars have passed the line, and he is indeed in the spare car. So he was 21st on the grid anyway, sorry, 22nd on the grid. He will now start effectively 21st because Benoldi has yet to have an engine that will run.
The last start then for Jean Alesi, possibly the last start for Mika Häkkinen. What goes through your mind when it's your last Grand Prix start?
What goes through your mind here, I don't think they'll be thinking about it the last one, is that it's downhill on this grid, so it always needs left foot on the brake and really just to hold the car on the clutch. And then you can see very used Michelins on the front as we just scanned away of Montoya's Williams there. Will Montoya beat Schumacher down to the first corner? It's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, I think Michael Schumacher's going to romp away into the distance. But we have seen the Ferrari getting better of recent times away from the line. Mika Häkkinen then, he has a set procedure to go through, a number of buttons to press to activate his launch control.
They both looked incredibly cool, didn't they? Schumacher and Montoya, 850 horsepower behind them underneath their right foot. Going to release it any moment now. Any moment now. Off they go! Montoya, great start by Suzuka on the outside, but Schumacher cuts across, as he did to Mika Häkkinen this time last year. He has the honours into turn one. Montoya leads Ralf Schumacher. The Benetton well placed as well as Rubens Barrichello. Holds on to fourth place, going around the outside. But Ralf Schumacher into the S's.
Yes, indeed, both Benettons did fly off the line, and Fisichella ahead of the two McLarens then at this time, but Michael Schumacher easily made it into turn one, so the first four are away, absolutely, first five, in fact, that's not true, Fisichella is up to fifth, so first four away in grid formation, and Fisichella making that crucial move. That's bad news for McLaren. I think that's going to hold them up while they find a way past the Benetton.
Yes, they've had many successful strategies here over the years. Look at the gap already that Michael Schumacher has. We're expecting to see those Michelin tyres on the Williams holding him up as Rubens Barrichello attacks Ralf Schumacher into the hairpin. He wants to get past. He's probably running quite light on fuel. He knows his only chance is to get in front of the Williamses in the next 10 laps.
I agree with you. I think they will surely have started Barrichello on a very light fuel load in the hope that he can springboard past the Williams somewhere. There's a chance we get a good run out of that corner spoon, and in the slipstream you can pass before 130R. Problem is, those BMW Williams are so fast in a straight line, but Barrichello appeared to be in a slipstream position. Yes, indeed he is. We're live on board, and he takes the inside line at third position. So he is light surely, and he did get perfectly in the slipstream. Häkkinen trying down the outside of Fisichella too, not this time around.
Great move by Rubens Barrichello. He goes up to third place. Ralf Schumacher down to fourth. Meanwhile, Fisichella and Häkkinen monstering each other as well, while out the front, Michael Schumacher. Look at that, 3.6 seconds on the opening lap. Explain that, Martin.
Well, he's just so good when there's an uncertain level of grip on a drizzly day or on the first lap of a Grand Prix, the first lap of qualifying. Michael Schumacher has this supreme confidence, and in any event, he's faster around here than anybody else at the moment, and it's no surprise he's pulling away. We did say that, but 3.6 seconds, that's amazing. And the Williams then have certainly got to go through a period of not being particularly fast until their tyres come into play.
A lot of controversy here this weekend about the Michelin tyres. They've been performing superbly when they're new. They're almost like qualifiers, but then the teams have been running them in, putting about 60 kilometres onto them, and they've almost gone down to slicks. You can see Juan Montoya's tyres on the grid. They're almost worn down to nothing. We're predicting some possible problems at the end of the race if Williams get a good result today, but we'll see. That's all for the future. For right now, Häkkinen attacking Fisichella. Schumacher pulling away at the front, and Rubens Barrichello now ready to attack, I would imagine, Juan Montoya for second place.
Well, the McLaren's not exactly all over the gearbox of that Benetton, are they? And this, the biggest scrap today in the championship is surely between Coulthard and Barrichello for that second place. Coulthard needing it desperately. He's finished third so many times in the World Championship. He wants to step forward. He's playing it all down, but he clearly needs to finish second. But at the moment, Barrichello has to win this race. Michael will let him through, no doubt about it, if they're running 1 and 2 later on. But at the moment, Montoya is in the middle. And did I see? I think Barrichello's gone through into second place. Just out of the corner of the screen, Barrichello made a move into the final chicane. I believe Barrichello is up into second place, yes indeed.
Well, the computer agrees with you, Martin. We haven't seen it, but Rubens Barrichello snatches second from Juan Pablo Montoya. It's a Ferrari 1-2 on lap 2. There he is.
We think
he's got back in. It's been retaken. Look, Ralph's got him back again. So Montoya's got him back again. So Montoya back up into second place. Rubens down to third.
Well, I'm afraid the Japanese people missed that, but no doubt about it, Barrichello crossed the line in second place, but Montoya having a second go at him up the inside into turn 1, I would guesstimate. Hopefully we will see a replay.
That must have been some kind of brave move. On board now with Rubens Barrichello, chasing down the monster. And a spinner, it's one of the Benettons. It could be Fisichella, is it?
Yes, it is. It's the lead Benetton, isn't it? So must be Fisichella then. Did he have a tangle with Häkkinen?
Oh, we're going to find out. So a lot of questions to be answered here in the opening laps of Suzuka. We're working on the third lap. It's Schumacher leading from Montoya, sorry. The computer still says it's Barrichello, but Montoya is in fact in second place. Barrichello third, Ralf Schumacher fourth, Fisichella
immediately, and that's what Montoya did to snatch back second place. We didn't see any of it, sadly, up here in the commentary box, nor did you at home, I know. But Barrichello once again then in the slipstream, but into turn 1, it is much harder. Montoya feeling the need to cover the line, but it's not going to happen this time.
And that is the corner, presumably where Montoya made that move. I can tell you it's 140 miles on the entry, 95 on the exit. That's a very fast corner to be re-overtaking somebody. Most of the time it happens under braking, as we saw into the chicane.
Well, we saw how fast Barrichello was under braking into the chicane where he passed Montoya, so no doubt about it, he's running a lighter car and has a better car under braking, I'm sure of it. So if Barrichello gets another sniff into the chicane, last chicane, I think he'll be through again.
So the winners and losers at the start, Häkkinen down 1 place, Fisichella up 1 place, but we think he's lost that now. Otherwise, Raikkonen did well, up 2 places from 12th to 10th place. He's now got himself up to 9th. He's the big winner from the start. We've got the first pit stop of the day.
And that then is a Prost runner who's lost. Frenzen's obviously damaged his nose somewhere. We don't know why or how. Frenzen in the pits for a new nose. But Fisichella spun between the two Degners, and therefore I doubt it was contact with Häkkinen. I'm afraid the Japanese director has missed absolutely everything so far. Fisichella's down to 12th. I think he would have spun by getting too deep into Degner 1, and then you lose the back end. Here is a replay then. Look at both Benettons leaping off the line. Michael fast off the front, covers the inside line immediately. Doesn't need to, he realises. Takes the normal racing line and already begins to build that amazing lead.
Did you notice that Ralf Schumacher thought about going around the outside of his teammate Montoya? As you see it again, he's right around the outside. There is a possibility, but he backs out of it.
Montoya was smart there. He just stayed on the straight and narrow line, so there's no chance of tangling. And this then is your leader by 8.9 seconds on lap 5. Michael Schumacher having a laugh.
Well, indeed he is. He was having a laugh in qualifying yesterday. 0.895, in fact, was the gap of a second between himself and Juan Montoya in second place. He's multiplied it by 10. And we're only 4 laps into this last Grand Prix of the 2001 season, a season which this man has completely dominated. He described it on Friday as my best ever season, and who's to argue with him? Off form, though. in Monza and America, really back on it here in Japan, no question about that, Martin.
I think it's the first time we've really seen Michael Schumacher in easily the best car, really. And, well, look at the points difference he's won the championship by. I think that really demonstrates just how good Schumacher is. He's really, absolutely. And there is a replay of Fisichella. He did get out of shape all by himself into the first Degner and then ends up broadsiding towards the second one, having to just yield to the Jordan. So Fisichella releasing the two McLarens. That'll be a relief for them.
We're talking about points this year, Martin. 6 more points today. And this man, Michael Schumacher, becomes the greatest point scorer in the history of Formula One. Overtakes Alain Prost. It's the last record that Prost has clung to with his fingernails, as Schumacher has just grasped them all in this amazing 2001 season.
Well, he's about 7/10 faster than Montoya, second place man Montoya in the first 2 sectors of this lap. Let's see what the gap is as Montoya goes over the line now, and it is 9.7 seconds now, so another 8/10 then. That's what Michael's pulling out every lap. When will the Williams have to stop for fuel? But now, look at the two McLarens. Suddenly they're released from behind Fisichella. They can start to attack. And Coulthard very fast in this morning's warm-up, second only to Michael Schumacher.
Now the picture might look bleak at the moment, Martin, for the Williams team and those following them, with Michael Schumacher so far out front. But clearly he's running less fuel than the Williams. It's clearly those tyres on the Williams are not working as well as his tyres. But how's it going to shake out? How are they going to get themselves back into this race?
They've just got to dig deep and just make sure they max out every braking zone, every corner. We don't know if Michael's three-stopping. It's so difficult to judge today because he has been so much faster than everybody else. You would normally say this much extra speed, he's going to stop one more time. Oh, and that's a big accident with a Sauber, and we saw, which corner is that? That is obviously a Jordan of a Lacey.
It's a Raikkonen and a Lacey, I believe. They've gone into the wall. There he is in his last Grand Prix, Jean Alesi, and he and Raikkonen were disputing 9th place. Alesi was just 0.2 of a second behind Raikkonen as they went into that lap. So obviously he's looking back with some concern towards the car of Kimi Raikkonen, and he's out of the car. There he is by the fire station sign. You can see the young Finnish driver, 21 years old, just touching his toes, obviously a bit winded there.
Yeah, that's a big accident. Because it's such a close shot, I can't work out exactly which corner it's in. They've gone off somewhere in the first sector, so maybe it's down there in turns 3 and 4 or something. Maybe Raikkonen lost it and Alesi collected him on the way through.
Just after loop 11, we're being told, is where he's gone off. So it is that twisty fast section up to the S curve. And they're travelling around about 110, 120 miles an hour through that sequence. Martin told us yesterday in qualifying you don't even touch your brakes through that area, but I bet they clearly had to touch their brakes then.
And the wall is so close to any incident you're going to have when you're doing 130 miles an hour. You travel across, you can see just that little bit of scruffy grass, and you're into the wall. And it seems as if Raikkonen, here we go then. So Raikkonen loses it. He does. He puts his left front wheel. Oh, I believe that's in the Dunlop curve, and Alesi did indeed just collect him up. And now we're going to see, well, once again, the tether's not working particularly well. Lucky for Raikkonen, he did not. Oh, look, and a spare wheel going across the track. Amazingly, no, not a spare wheel, but a front wheel. Amazingly, nobody collected it. So I think Raikkonen just hooked his wheels on the curb, and oh no, he lost it on the bump. The back of the car bottomed out in the hollow and took him off towards the wall, and Alesi going off in sympathy and then getting together in a nasty way.
Just checking that he's okay. A shake of hands. Raikkonen, a pretty tough guy, a tough character, uncompromising. Well, au revoir, Jean. It's been a pleasure, a great, great pleasure. And it's the first race, would you believe, of the 2001 season that he has failed to finish. Tremendous reliability record this year from Jean Alesi. So badly wanted to go out on a high in Japan, the country which loves him. He's married to a Japanese woman. They have 2 half French, half Japanese children. He's adored here, and you can see on his face the way he feels about his Grand Prix.
Yes, he finished all the other 16 races in 2 different cars, of course, with Prost and then Jordan. And here we go. I think what's happened is it's just bottomed out in that dip and unloaded the rear tyres as it's rebounded up. And Alesi then hoping to go around the outside of the spin, but then they collect each other up and start heading for the wall. Look, that could have been so nasty.
Martin, this time last year, the last Grand Prix of the season, Johnny Herbert, you can see the wheels flying across the track. And one of those 2 cars, I believe, touched it. But Johnny Herbert this time last year had a big accident on his last Grand Prix after announcing his retirement. Maybe it doesn't pay to announce it before a race.
You are tempting fate, I guess, but I have to say that was a big escape for Formula One there. Wheels flying around, Raikkonen's car nearly flying. When it got airborne, it was right alongside Alesi's cockpit. A big save there for Formula One, thank goodness.
So, an action-packed start. We're on lap 8 at the moment. Michael Schumacher leading by 10.7 seconds from Juan Montoya in second place. Rubens Barrichello is third, just 1.2 seconds behind him. Ralf Schumacher fourth. Mika Häkkinen fifth, now 16 seconds behind the race leader. David Coulthard is sixth. Jarno Trulli is seventh. Button eighth. Fisichella ninth. And Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar is in 10th place. Martin, I agree with you. Formula One had a big escape there, but just explain to us how a car can get loose like that when the front wheel hits a bump.
It's the rear of the car hit the deck, and what happens is it unloads the tyres. The force, the downforce on the car gets transmitted through the chassis and not through the tyre. The contact patch momentarily releases, and because it's in quite a turn there in the Dunlop curve, it just spins the back of the car around.
Well, whatever, it was certainly a dramatic moment. You're looking at David Coulthard running in 6th place. Oh, and a bit of a lock-up, a bit of a mistake by Michael Schumacher. We've seen him struggling a little bit through the tight left-hander throughout the weekend. Is that the sign of perhaps just a little bit of a lapse of concentration, or possibly just pushing a little bit too hard? He's enjoying an 11.5-second gap over the man in 2nd place, so it won't damage that too much, but nevertheless a strange thing for him to be doing at this stage.
Suggests to me he may indeed be free-stopping, because he's pushing like crazy, and the way he's turning the car into the corners, and he's acrobatically, almost like a qualifying lap. Watching now as he turns into 130. I look at him just launch the car in on the turn in. The car just sticks superbly, but Michael is on it. And another lock-up as he runs, look, across the chicane all by himself. So Michael then is definitely trying as hard as he can. Maybe he's got to make an extra stop.
Let's look at some of the other runners here then. Jenson Button got himself up into 8th place. Benetton certainly looking more on the pace this weekend. Just got the speed of Schumacher into turn 1. Unbelievable the way he commits the car. 5th gear, 140 miles an hour, and hurl it in. This is a great example of the way a Formula One car changes direction. Just look at that. Absolutely magnificent. Some of the other runners then, the other Jaguars. Well, let's just have a quick look at this lock-up here. Into the chicane. Third place, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Häkkinen 5th, Coulthard in 6th.
Yeah, Coulthard staying within touching distance of Häkkinen, they're 5th and 6th. Of course, Coulthard needs to finish 4th or better to guarantee himself 2nd in the championship. And 3rd place man at the moment, Barrichello, must win the race. So Montoya now just sets the fastest lap of the race so far, a new lap record, a 1:37.551.
We've seen this before, that happened, Martin. These Michelin tyres, about 10 laps into the race, they start to come into a sweet spot. This is where Montoya and Williams have to capitalise. Possibly that was in Michael Schumacher's mind as well, the knowledge that these Michelin tyres, you can see there, the Williams pit wall, they know what's happening. Montoya knows what's happening. His car is now starting to feel like it's under him, and he's got the hammer down.
And this is what Ferrari are unhappy about. They think that it's against regulation number 81 that the Michelin tyres appear to improve significantly in performance as the grooves wear out. Even if there's a little bit of groove showing, we think that there's rubber underneath the grooves on the Michelins where there's not on the Bridgestone, and I think that's the cause of concern here this weekend. And now both Williams are fastest cars on the track. Ted, what can you tell us?
Martin, I think both Ferraris are light because Schumacher had to guarantee that he wouldn't get passed by Montoya at the start, because Williams have been making some absolutely monster starts recently, and that's partly why we saw that very aggressive move across the bows of him. It's a Schumacher special. But if Schumacher keeps this kind of pace up, I reckon he'll be 25-30 seconds ahead of his next rival by the time he stops first on lap 20-21, and that's well time enough to get in and get out with the fuel he needs.
I agree with you to a certain extent, Ted, but for the first time, last time around, Montoya pulled the lead back. Montoya was the faster man. So we'll see. Michael's done a 38.5 on that lap and a 37.7 for Montoya. So that lead is now down to 10.4 seconds. Now, once again, there's a Lacey still making his way back to the pits after that incident with Kimi Räikkönen. Now Montoya is easily the fastest man on the track, and he's pulling Barrichello along with him. So Michael then has, I don't know whether he's overcooked his tyres or what is going on up front, but Michael dropping significant pace.
Yes, and the man on the move is Juan Montoya. He's even 0.4 of a second a lap faster than his own teammate Ralf Schumacher. So far in the back end of this season, we've seen the Colombian have the ascendancy in the team. I mentioned before, they've been fighting like schoolgirls. It's the only way you can describe it. Always having a little bit of a go at each other behind the scenes. Ralf Schumacher, going into this weekend, Martin, gave a very controversial interview in one of the magazines in which he said, why doesn't Williams have team orders? We should have a clear number one and a number two. Presumably he was thinking he should be the number one, otherwise he wouldn't have said it. But surely on this form, Montoya is the top dog in that team at the moment.
It's heading that way, isn't it? And when you think this is Montoya's first season of Formula One, first time ever at a technical circuit like this Suzuka racetrack, very much is. So Montoya, I would say, is beginning to get the upper hand in that Williams squabble. But a little bit further back down the field, then we're looking at Verstappen, Panis, Alonso, which is 14th, 15th and 16th. A reasonable and hard fight going on down there. Sometimes you drive the race of your life back there, virtually unnoticed. This is Michael then making his way past a recovering Prost that was wandering across Frentzen, wandering across the white line. He may even get a penalty for that. He was not paying attention, probably looking in his mirror to see where the leader was as he came through. Michael 10.1 seconds ahead now. He's lost another 0.3.
That must have been Frentzen's second pit stop, because we saw him earlier on taking on a new nose. So a terrible day for the Prost team, with Enger in 17th place, just behind the battle we were looking at a moment ago with Panis and Verstappen, and Frentzen down in 20th. Now what's the gap? We've got the stopwatch running this time by. This is lap 13 of 53. Long way to go in this race, by no means over 10.7. You can see Schumacher trying to respond, but Montoya still pushing hard. 0.3 that lap.
Yeah, but Schumacher's just done the fastest first sector, and they're 0.6 up on Montoya, so Michael suddenly finding a bit more grip again. Don't know what that's all about. I think that was Frentzen's one and only pit stop. He obviously was in the pits for best part of 2 laps, I think. It's only showing him his one pit stop here on the computer, so why he was wandering out of the pit lane, I don't know.
Up the hill towards 130R. You can see Frentzen just shadowing Michael Schumacher there, with having another look at the gap between him and the second place car. As Martin said, it's a 2-stop race, this one, so everybody very keen to have the maximum advantage they can going into the first stop. We're expecting the cars to come in for their first stop in the early lap 20 sort of region. But we saw Jean Alesi crashing out just a moment ago. Louise Goodman is down there with him.
Yes, he's arrived back in the pit lane now. Jean, very nasty accident. Not really much that you could do about it there, was there?
I have just to say we have been lucky, both of us. I am very happy I didn't hurt him, because he was just on the front, and my nose is quite high, but I'm very happy. Everything at the end went very well. Just a bit sad to finish my career like that, but his life is motor racing, and we have to accept these situations.
You've given us many great years, Jean. Thanks and best of luck in your retirement.
Yeah, it is sad for him, isn't it? You always want to go out on a high, score a few points or something, and not to be involved in an incident, especially when it was absolutely nothing to do with the Lacey whatsoever.
Yeah, on Friday, Martin, he was out there, wasn't he, with very low fuel, brand new set of tyres. He wanted to be top of the timesheets in his last Grand Prix weekend. He knew that Friday was probably his only chance. Lap 14 then, Michael Schumacher As you see, Montoya, a little bit of a lock-up there himself going into that chicane. There's Alesi saying goodbye to the Jordan mechanics. He started out back in Formula 3000 racing for Eddie Jordan, and many of these boys worked for him then when he won the Formula 3000 championship with the Jordan Honda team, as it was in those days. They never really got it together in Formula 1, except in this last half season, since Eddie Jordan sacked Heinz-Harald Frentzen just before the German Grand Prix. That's it for Jean. But meanwhile, a great race taking shape here between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. We've seen them fighting in Brazil, we've seen them fighting in Austria, and who knows, we may well soon see them fighting here in Suzuka. Trulli still in 7th place in the second of the two Jordans. Fisichella recovering very well indeed from that spin, now up into 8th place from 12th, so really attacking both his teammate Jenson Button, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, who is in 10th, and Jacques Villeneuve. Watch out for Giancarlo Fisichella, he hasn't finished yet. And you can see, I was interested, Martin, incidentally, to see when the cars were practicing, doing their practice starts at the end of the pit lane this weekend, but whenever the Benetton came down there, so many improvements on that car, that the Ferrari and McLaren mechanics would run out, some of the engineers run out to take a look at some of the detailed work on that Benetton. They really have taken a big step forward, haven't they?
You sure they weren't taking a look and a listen to the launch control? Because everybody now understands that somehow or other Benetton have stolen the march on the launch control systems, and maybe they're out there trying to even record some of the engine note or something to understand why. Michael Schumacher's just set another new fastest T1, Sector 1, last time around Montoya. And look, Michael Schumacher maybe was on a 3-stopper, and clearly then a Ferrari hitting this time around, and they're going to be disappointed then. They're only 10.3 seconds ahead.
Yes, if it is Michael, it's very curious indeed. Can't see which engineer looks the more tense up on the pit wall. It's usually the telltale sign of which car is coming in. But Michael Schumacher, is he going to make the dive down? He'll duck off to the right just after he makes the exit from the... No, it's not him. It must be either Rubens Barrichello or a mistake. No, we believe it is Rubens Barrichello. So Michael Schumacher, and we've seen him making up the time in the first sector of the lap. That's really the only opportunity he has, because the Williams car is behaving better in the second and third part of the lap. So it's from here, basically the next 30 seconds is where Michael has to put the hammer down, as Rubens Barrichello comes in from 3rd place.
So as we expected then, Barrichello started light to get past the Williams. It worked on Ralph, it worked on Montoya, but then Montoya stole it back again into turn 1, so not quite paying off, and Barrichello then really out of sync, out of phase in this Grand Prix, and that is putting his 2nd place in the World Championship very much at risk, no doubt about it.
Yes, he's going to come back around about 12th place, I imagine. Let's see which cars are on the track. One of the Jordans and one of the Benettons going through. That's 7th and 8th place, Trulli and Fisichella. So he slots in 9th, just ahead of Jenson Button. A big loss there for Rubens Barrichello. The strategy does not seem to have worked. It's lap 16. Michael Schumacher leads from Montoya. Then it's Ralf Schumacher 3rd, Hakkinen 4th, and Coulthard in 5th place.
Benetton then also ready. Looks like they too are on a 3-stopper. We're on lap 16 of the Grand Prix. 15 laps completed. There's the running order at the end of the 15th lap. You can see for yourselves at the bottom of the screen, but one of those two Benettons is coming in the pits this time. There then is Fisichella with the recovering Barrichello behind him, who has of course just pitted. Barrichello losing once more crucial time then in the traffic. That's the problem. If you get out of phase, you get back onto the racetrack in the thick of it, and they're racing for position, so they're not going to let him through easily, even though he's clearly going to finish ahead of them in the Grand Prix. Now,
bear in mind that Rubens Barrichello's just taken fuel on as he gets a good drive out of that corner.
Yeah, he'll easily pass him down the straight and gets position down there into... No, he hasn't done so. Why is that? I thought he would easily breeze past him there. Remembering, of course, though, that Barrichello has just taken on some fuel, but I still expected him, and now he's going to go up the inside, and Fisichella sensibly yielding.
Well, he may be coming into the pits. There he goes. So it would have been very foolish to do anything other than yield. And so does Jarno Trulli. So the 7th and 8th place cars both dive in on lap 17. This is early for a 2-stop strategy, but they're racing each other for position. Both want the points for 4th place in the championship, trying to overtake Sauber, who are nowhere today.
Massive relief there for Barrichello then to see both those cars hit ahead of him. He'll be so happy heading down to turn 1 with clear track in front of him. And obviously then the Jordan It is a difficult pit lane there because there's a rain gully in the middle of it. Jordan then staying ahead and keeping that position.
Yes, indeed. It's the order they came in. Trulli and Fisichella, they'll have dropped down to about 13th or 14th place now, but hasn't Rubens Barrichello got himself out of jail there? He was languishing behind the 8th and 9th place cars. Now he's up to 6th and attacking, well, he will be attacking soon, David Coulthard, as the leaders will be thinking soon about getting into their pit stop sequence. Olivier Panis there pitting from 17th place. Not a fairly ignominious afternoon, really, for the BAR team. Jacques Villeneuve down in the lowly 11th as well. BAR really have had a difficult end to the 2001 season, but there it's a long stop as well from the looks of things for Panis. That's really not the way you want to do things on a Sunday afternoon.
Surely, as he's on lap 18, they can change Michael onto a two-stopper anyway, can't they, James? They should be able to, having got this far, whatever strategy they were on, they should be able to squeeze him now onto a two-stopper. Well,
according to the computer model that was handed to us before the race, a three-stopper would have come in around about lap 14, and we saw Barrichello coming not long after that, so Michael doesn't look as though he was as light as we thought. That opening pace was genuine opening pace. No wonder he had a few lockups. He was pushing like mad.
Yes, well, I think he'll still stop a little earlier than the Williams, but surely they can adjust their strategy anyway at this stage. And Barrichello, fastest man on the track, and a new lap record then. That's out of date, that information that's just flashed up, because Barrichello's done a 1:36.9, a time that would have put him well up on the grid last year, let alone in the mid-sector of this Grand Prix. And he's in 6th place, and now then Michael coming out at the end of lap 18. What will they do? It's crucial to understand how long that fueler is on the nozzle of the Ferrari. We wait anxiously to see how much they put in it, and will Michael be three-stopping like Barrichello?
Well, it's around about 8 seconds worth of fuel he's going to take on if he's two-stopping, as Michael Schumacher, the race leader, with an 11-second advantage over Juan Montoya, and there is Montoya. He'll take the lead after this. Ralf Schumacher will go through as well. Who knows how many other cars too. Is Michael, has he made the right decision on strategy? We're going to find out very shortly. He's going to lose a lot of places by making this stop a little bit early. Can he make them up later? How long does it take him? Let's see.
Fuel on now. Sure, well, that's a short, isn't it? He'll be in again quite early on. And look, who is that going through? That is the McLaren of Hakkinen. So Michael then has fed back in to what will be 4th place. Hakkinen then up to 3rd. So the two Williams, 1st and 2nd. Williams looking ever so strong.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? They really are. Some long faces over the weekend, but you just get the feeling that Williams, they were saying, paying lip service. You heard Ralf Schumacher in the introduction saying that Michael was on a planet of his own, as you see Juan Montoya just locking up that tyre there. But in fact, Williams have been quite confident themselves throughout the weekend. Montoya particularly confident. He really is riding on a crest of a wave at the moment. Feels that the car is performing the way he wants to. He's got a handle on Formula One. He's got supremacy over his teammate, and he's on the attack. How far behind him is his teammate, Ralf Schumacher? The answer, 5 seconds. And we're working on lap 19 now. So when are Williams going to make their stop?
Only 2 retirements so far then. Raikkonen and Alesi, of course. Raikkonen spinning off after his car bottomed out in the long uphill left-hander of the Dunlop curve, and Alesi collecting him up on the way through, sort of spinning off or crashing off in sympathy. The only 2 cars out of this race, so 20 runners remaining.
Well, we know a bit now, don't we, Martin? Same from last year. Do you remember when Hakkinen made the first stop and he blinked first? We saw how much fuel went into that car. Now we know how much fuel Michael Schumacher's got in the car and how far he can go on it. So Louise Goodman has some news for us, though.
Well, yes, I was going to try and catch a word with Kimi Raikkonen, who you're just talking about, after that massive shunt which ended both his and Alesi's race. Ironically, Kimi was one of several drivers who came to Jean on the grid to wish him luck in his last race. As we saw, that all came to naught. No sign of the Sauber driver, though apparently he's been taken off to the medical centre, complaining of head and neck pains. Now, we saw him walk back to the pit area, so obviously not too bad, but I'll try and bring you some more news on that and get you updated.
Thank you, Louise. Well, we reckon about 18 laps worth of fuel went into that Ferrari of Michael Schumacher's. So, bearing in mind he stopped on lap 17, well, you get an idea of when he might come in again. But of course, Williams know that information as well now, and they can use it. Jacques Villeneuve, though, in the pits.
Yes, they'll have to put a lot of fuel in Michael when he comes in next time if he's going to make just one more stop in this Grand Prix, which surely is the right decision. It'll leave him a bit heavy at the end and a bit sluggish, but he'll need track position. And Ralf Schumacher then about to lap what must be Frentzen and Verstappen, I think, fighting over 17th and 18th. A long way down, they've both made one pit stop, and there is Michael then with Hakkinen, of course. So Michael Schumacher was 0.4 of a second behind over the finish line last time around. Looks about the same now, doesn't it? Michael getting held up behind the McLaren. That has not worked out well for him.
Both Ferraris are stuck behind both McLarens at the moment because Barrichello is also stuck behind Coulthard, and so close coming out of the chicane down the hill.
Surely Michael's going to have a good stab down into turn one, and we know he's blindingly fast down there. Will Hakkinen give him any space at all? And the answer is no way, thank you. Might be my last Grand Prix. You might have been my arch enemy in the last few years of my Grand Prix career. You are not coming through, mate.
Great stuff by Mika Hakkinen. What a fighter. There are plenty of people in the Formula One paddock who believe we have not seen the last of Mika Hakkinen. He had a press conference yesterday in which he said that he would love, believe it or not, to see his son Hugo take up kart racing in the future. He wants a Hakkinen dynasty, and he wants more Formula One championships and all the rest of it. Williams, though, getting ready. This is lap 21, so quite an early two-stopper for Williams, and look at how tired those tyres are already, just going on to the car for the next stint.
Well, remember in Belgium, Benetton also, and Hakkinen running wide. Will Michael get a run up the inside? No, he enabled him to get on the power, even though he was wide, get on the power quite early and keep defending that position. So Michael then losing time at this stage of the Grand Prix. Hakkinen clearly in a slower car, but defending extremely well.
And a stop-and-go penalty for Enrique Benoldi, which we might see him take at some point, but at the moment we're focusing on this battle for third place between Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher. Montoya still leading the race by now 6.7 seconds. He's pulled out an advantage over Ralf, and this is why, because he was the first of the two Williamses to make the stop. Ralf Schumacher now leads the Japanese Grand Prix, the third different leader we've had this afternoon. How many more will we get?
I was saying, remember, Benetton left their front tyres on in the Belgian Grand Prix, their front Michelins, but they're changed for Williams. But they look very second-hand, don't they, already? And as expected, about 8 seconds worth of fuel then. So clearly a two-stopper, but look where he comes back out. It is behind Hakkinen, isn't it? And why is that Ferrari down the road like that? Why is Michael Schumacher? So was it Schumacher and Hakkinen? Oh no, that's Schumacher and Hakkinen. It must have been Coulthard and Barrichello then, that he's just got out behind Coulthard and in front of Barrichello.
Yes, indeed. Rubens Barrichello 2.9 seconds behind David Coulthard. So that's where he's slotted in fifth place. So Montoya down to fifth. Ralf Schumacher up to first. Formula One race. I told you it was going to be intense this afternoon, didn't I? Oh boy, got a long way to go as well. There's another 32 laps to go in this Japanese Grand Prix, and everybody's got at least one more stop to make. Ralf Schumacher has 2 more stops to make. Don't forget, though, that he was nearly 7 seconds behind his teammate when Montoya made that stop. So that's what he's got to make up now if he wants to have a chance. How much fuel has the German driver got on board? We're going to find out shortly. Meanwhile, Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher nose to tail. Coulthard. Louise is down there with Kimi Räikkönen.
I am indeed. Kimi, first of all, I know you just been to the medical centre. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I have a little bit headache and a neck is a bit sore, but otherwise it's fine.
Tell us about that accident.
No, it's just suddenly I lost all the... I haven't seen the slow motion, it's difficult to say, but somebody told that the rear just slipped away and I just lost all the grip on the rear and spun off.
Bad news for you, but also bad news for Jean.
Yeah, well, that's racing and it's happening something.
Thanks, Kimi.
So he's had a lot of big shunts recently, hasn't he? He went at a big one in Monza in practice, and several incidents for Räikkönen recently, and I'm afraid that's the reality of Formula One. They may seem only 30 miles an hour faster everywhere than your in the corners than your Formula Renault. They're going to hurt when they hit the wall. Unfortunately, I can tell you that from a lot of personal experience. But this is Barrichello then, who is chasing down Montoya. We think Barrichello's got to stop twice more, Montoya just the once more. So that emphasises how good it's looking for the Williams team.
It really is. It's come to them. The way Grand Prix racing can start to look as though somebody has the upper hand. He just drove over the bump there, which Raikkonen crashed on. You could feel the camera just shaking as he went over it there. But you see the pendulum swings in modern Grand Prix racing. It's fascinating. You'll never be sure. But meanwhile, the Williams mechanics are now ready for Ralf Schumacher. This is lap 23. He's bang on target for a two-stopper.
Yeah, classic, absolutely perfect two-stop strategy to come in at the end of lap 23. And just mind-blowing how they changed direction in the Formula 1 cars now with the softer tyres they're running this year and the way they've developed the cars. It's just breathtaking to see how aggressive the drivers can be on the steering wheel. And of course he takes to the pit lane. We're looking for a white line down there near the white bridge over the track. There it is now, and he has to be on the speed limiter.
Yes, and the mechanics have to be on their toes as well, because he's going to take out 24 seconds, and this is the man he's got to get back out in front of, Rubens Barrichello. Can he do it? If he doesn't, he'll be down in 5th place, and it's not at all what Ralf Schumacher wants. Montoya, his teammate, is in front of Barrichello. What's going to happen? Can he get out in front of the Ferrari?
No chance. Montoya goes past now. Barrichello goes past. But don't forget, Barrichello has to stop a second time.
Coulthard into the pit lane. David Coulthard into the pit lane from 5th place. Ted.
Coulthard surprising even Ted, then hopefully he didn't surprise the McLaren team. I'm sure he didn't, because to say again, that is the optimum time to run this race, to stop for the first time at the end of lap 23. And there you can see clearly then Montoya still ahead of Barrichello.
And we have a 4th different race leader for the afternoon. We're on lap 24, and now Mika Häkkinen is leading the race with Michael Schumacher just 0.6 of a second behind him, with Montoya a further 6.8 seconds down the road. It's shifting a lot at the moment. This is the period of the race where things have to be done. This is where the work really has to be put in. Montoya, Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher all very anxious to win this race. And there's a few others that would like to do it as well. But those three are the likely possibilities. Coulthard has pitted. Häkkinen still has to come in. He's the only one of the front runners still to make his stop. But you're looking, though, at the battle for 3rd place between Montoya and Barrichello.
I think that's a bit out of date, that computer readout on your screen, because Ralf Schumacher has, of course, pitted and is now behind these runners. It takes about a lap for the computer to catch up and sort itself out. Montoya kicking up the dust in 130R. Rubens has that tighter line under braking on the way in, and that will be Häkkinen, your 4th race leader of the afternoon, pitting for the first time. Ted Kravitz.
OK, yes, you've got me now this time, Martin. This duel between Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher, the old rival, suspended for just a moment now as Mika Häkkinen comes rocketing into his pit box. A brand new set of Bridgestones go on. The fuel hose is on, no problem. A very worn set of Bridgestones off. He lights up the rear tyres and he's off. What's the time? It's a good stop.
7.6 seconds is the time, Ted. So, yes, a very good stop for McLaren, and that will keep Häkkinen clearly ahead of David Coulthard. So, we now think Michael Schumacher leads from Montoya and Barrichello.
Lap 25 of this Japanese Grand Prix, which we predicted would be decided by race strategy, and we were not wrong from the looks of things. It's all yet to be shaken out. Forgive us then if we just do a little bit of thinking out loud at the moment as to how this is all going to work its way out when we come round to the 2nd round of pit stops. Michael Schumacher currently leading by 2.7 seconds as Eddie Irvine retires from 10th place in the Jaguar. So the man who got a great result in America 2 weeks ago, finishing the season on a bit of a low, frankly.
Irvine had just made his pit stop the lap before, so something clearly amiss as he rejoined the track.
Michael Schumacher leading the race. Juan Montoya is in 2nd place, and he has Rubens Barrichello breathing down his neck. Barrichello actually looked to have lost out by making an early stop. Now, sitting behind Montoya, it's not looking too bad for him, but certainly from a winning race point of view, it's very unlikely, because we believe he has 2 more stops to make. Montoya not looking too bad. 6.3 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. If you think about the advantage Schumacher had in the early stages, it was about 11 seconds. So he's halved it, basically, through that first round of pit stops as one of the Prost's runs wide and very nearly collects Barrichello. Do you think he knew he was there?
No, absolutely not. I think he was so busy collecting himself up. I assume that is anger, and so busy sorting himself out. I think he probably saw the Williams coming through and it never occurred to him there might be somebody else following. So Barrichello there with a bit of a close squeeze.
Indeed it was. A very close squeeze. Just 8/10 then behind Juan Montoya. Ralf Schumacher also there. Mika Häkkinen dropped down into 5th place now as a result of that late stop. David Coulthard in 6th place. Della Rosa going well in 7th. 8th is Trulli. 9th is Fisichella. And 10th is Villeneuve. Lap 26 of the Japanese Grand Prix, the final round of the 2001 Formula One World Championship. Michael Schumacher is just 6.3 seconds now ahead of Juan Montoya. So the Williams driver has cut the deficit that Schumacher had built up between himself and the Colombian in half in the last 8 laps. A tremendous effort by Montoya. He's pushing very, very hard. Schumacher responding as well. You can see Rubens Barrichello there on your screens in 3rd place, just 1.4 seconds behind Montoya. Ralf Schumacher is still 4th in the second of the 2 BMW Williamses. Mika Häkkinen made quite a late stop. He's pushing hard though, and he's in 5th place ahead of David Coulthard. We've lost Eddie Irvine though during the break. He just retired in the Jaguar, pulled into the pits, got out, and that's the end of his season. But look at Montoya pushing hard.
And an incident involving car 5, that's Ralf Schumacher under investigation by the stewards. I hope he hasn't run over that white line again like he did back in Nürburgring. So for whatever reason, Ralf Schumacher, currently running 4th, is under investigation. Montoya 2nd then. Remember, he stopped some 6 laps later than Barrichello, so he's got 6 more laps worth of fuel on that car. He is in a classic 2-stopper. We think Barrichello is really out of sync. It's really, I think it's between Michael and Montoya this afternoon. Michael Schumacher, Montoya, and Ralf if he doesn't get too heavily penalised for something.
There is one other possibility, Martin, and that is that Montoya had a normal 2-stop amount of fuel on board, but that the Ferrari strategist had seen he was in traffic, brought him in and got him back out into some clear air. Didn't quite pay out that because, in fact, he found himself behind 2 cars fairly quickly. So that's probably not all that likely. It tips it in the balance of probabilities then towards him being on a 3-stopper. Very difficult to tell at this early stage though. Michael Schumacher crossing the line, beginning of lap 28. What's the margin? It stays at around about 6.2 seconds over Montoya. And we've seen the Colombian pushing very, very hard when the car is full of fuel. He seems to have tremendous car control, this young man. Nothing seems to faze him. No pressure that anybody can throw at him seems to put him out.
Louise is in the pits with Eddie Irvine.
I am indeed, Eddie, out of the race and in rather frustrating circumstances as well, I understand.
Yeah, we've done everything we need to do. We'd jumped both Benettons and, you know, from then on it was going to be... We'd done all the hard work and the rig's screwed, you know.
So what exactly happened? Because you came in for a pit stop and then you came back in again straight away.
The rig's screwed, it's not working, there's no fuel. The rig's broken, it's not working. There's no fuel.
Thanks, Eddie.
What Eddie means is they can't get fuel into the car. Surprised they haven't got a spare one hanging around or using Della Rosa's or something like that. It seems an unusual reason to be out of the race. Maybe it's the nozzle in the car that's got a problem, because surely they would have used one of the other fuel rigs. Della Rosa is down in 12th place, having just pitted, and apparently I'm told it is correct. It was a problem with the car, not the fuel rig itself, as Eddie was explaining. And a stop-go penalty then for cutting the chicane with advantage. Ralf Schumacher, unseen by us, has jumped across the chicane, taken an advantage or saved a place somehow, and will get a 10-second stop and go. That will cost him about 26 seconds in total.
It will indeed, and it'll drop him down behind Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. So a little bit of a present for Häkkinen on his final Grand Prix. He doesn't have to worry anymore about Ralf Schumacher. But Montoya just getting around Alex Young in the second of the Minardis, the young Malaysian driver who joined that team late on in the season. There is Ralf Schumacher. How many laps has he got before he has to come in? Is it 3?
He can 3 laps, yes. He must come in within the next 3 laps, and to take that penalty at their discretion. He will stop at his pit, and he will be controlled by his own people.
Lap 29 then, high drama here at Suzuka. We had a big accident at the start. For those of you just joining us, involving Kimi Raikkonen and Jean Alesi in the early stages, I should say, rather than at the start. Michael Schumacher got the drop. We've had 4 different race leaders: Schumacher, Montoya, Ralf Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen. But Ralf Schumacher now putting himself pretty much out of contention as far as a race win goes by having got that stop-and-go penalty. There is confirmation of it on your screens now. So the fight for victory as we work on lap 29 is between Michael Schumacher, Juan Montoya, and to some extent Rubens Barrichello.
And Ralf will be frustrated, to say the least, about that. He's just homing in on Barrichello, third place man Barrichello. So Ralf, as you said, puts him, I think, way out of contention, because the McLarens are 11 and 17 seconds behind him. He will lose 26 roughly in that pit stop, so he could, with a storming drive at the end, bring himself back in with the McLarens, but surely not to win this race.
We hear from the pit lane, the ITV F1 pit crew, that Rubens Barrichello is coming in, and there it is. Rubens Barrichello then dives in on lap 29, bang on target for a 3-stopper. And this is his second stop. Will they put a bit more fuel in this time? And there's Ralf Schumacher just behind, coming in to serve his stop-and-go penalty.
So doesn't it look so painfully slow as they come down the pit lane? They cross the rain gully. It's very slippery on that very fine concrete they have there, and this is just a simple 10-second, and he's got to put it into first gear now, is what his lollipop will say in front of him. And Barrichello with a long stop. Barrichello taking an awful long time to get away, but still gets out in front of Ralf Schumacher, and Ralf nails him on the pit exit. Did he cross the white line? Barrichello clearly could not get his speed limiter off or something, and Ralf, really an opportunist move. Will he get another penalty?
Well, I'd like to see a replay of that, because it looked very much to me as though the left rear wheel of that Williams crossed the white line. Now, cast your mind back, folks, to the Nürburgring Grand Prix, the European Grand Prix in June. Remember how Ralf Schumacher had that race bought and paid for, but on his second pit stop he came out of the pit lane and crossed that white line. He just swung out onto the track a little bit carelessly, and the stewards gave him a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for it. It lost him the race that day. Are they going to give him another one today? We will find out shortly.
Verstappen also under investigation now, but he's down in 15th, hardly a contender in this Grand Prix, but I would assume for similar circumstance.
So this is lap 30. Michael Schumacher leading by 6.4 seconds ahead of Juan Montoya. Rubens Barrichello another 6 seconds behind him in third place. Ralf Schumacher, well, actually no, he's in front of Barrichello. The computer has not put itself right. So Ralf Schumacher, we think, is in third place, ahead of Rubens Barrichello in fourth. Mika Hakkinen fifth. David Coulthard sixth, half a minute down on the race leader. Seventh is Jarno Trulli, eighth Giancarlo Fisichella, ninth Jacques Villeneuve, and 10th, going well, Jenson Button in the second of the two Benettons.
Yeah, sorry to spoil that lovely readout, but Hakkinen and Coulthard are third and fourth because, of course, the Barrichello and Ralf made those two pit stops. So it's now Michael Schumacher leading Montoya, Hakkinen, Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, Barrichello rounds out the top 6. All changing up there, isn't it?
You need an abacus for this, don't you? Unbelievable how quick it changes. But certainly the incident involving car 5 is under investigation, and that will be the crossing of the white line by Ralf Schumacher. He's certainly giving the stewards something to think about today, isn't he?
What do you guess? I think he'll be in again. I mean, it was only a quick flash as it went over it, but I've got a sneaky feeling he's going to be in again. It was an audacious move. And while Barrichello was sort of doing his housekeeping inside the cockpit, trying to get his car up and running, slow stop for Barrichello, don't forget, as well. 10.3 seconds, very poor for a 3-stopping. Normally you'd expect about 6.5 or 7. And there then is the gap from race leader Michael Schumacher down to Montoya, and it's staying, isn't it, around the early 6s, although again I think that information is way out of date too.
It's very hard to keep on top of what is actually happening here in Japan. It's all changing so very, very quickly. We've had 4 different race leaders. We've had gaps going up and down and shifting all the time. Many people are on different kinds of strategies. 3-stoppers, short 2-stoppers, long 2-stoppers, you name it. We've got it all this afternoon here at Suzuka. Montoya, though, bearing down on Michael Schumacher. And let me ask you a question, Martin. Ralf Schumacher then, 2 mistakes, clearly both of his own mistakes. First one going straight on at the chicane as you look at Ferrari team strategist Ross Brawn. The second mistake coming out across that white line. What does that say about his state of mind? Why is he making those mistakes?
Desperate Dan. 2 words, really. I think he's really getting rattled by this man, Montoya, who really has been showing him the way in a similar car in the early stages of his Grand Prix career. And Montoya, the gap still 6.5 seconds to Michael Schumacher.
Lap 32. Michael Schumacher 6.5 seconds in front of Juan Montoya as the Williams strategists try and figure out how to get in front of him. Hakkinen third, Coulthard fourth, Ralf Schumacher fifth, and Barrichello in 6th place.
Look at this then, it is Ralf who's still under investigation and just staying ahead in the traffic of Rubens Barrichello. It's been a frantic afternoon, hasn't it? The script writers for the information on our screen have absolutely had a tough afternoon trying to keep up with this Grand Prix. It just changed. Before they can type it out, it's been changing.
Certainly has. Now, is Ralf Schumacher allowed to slow Rubens Barrichello up at this stage? He knows he's almost certainly got to come back in for a stop and go. He hasn't been given it yet, though, has he? So he can do what he likes at the moment.
Yeah, he can run him off the road if he wants. It's up to him. In many respects, he might get penalised for that too if it's too blatant. But look, we know Rubens is quick under braking here and takes a desperate lunge up the inside, and that works a treat. And once again, Ralf jumps across the chicane and keeps, in my view, yet another advantage. He should get off the throttle pedal and let Rubens through. And look, Rubens has got his finger up in the air saying, you can't do that, my friend. You can't get away with that. And he goes round the outside of him. Brilliant move. So busy was he talking to the pit wall saying, you can't do that. He then pulls a fabulous move into turn 1. Great driving from Rubens Barrichello.
Oh, what a bold, bold move by Rubens. Amazing stuff. Said at the earlier part of this weekend that he feels that the best he's ever felt in his life. Just became a father for the first time 3 weeks ago. He's on top of his game. He's got the full support now of the Ferrari team, who've given him the spare car and the full support. You can see the Williams mechanics, they can't quite believe what Ralph's up to. Well, there's an awful lot of talking going to take place after this Grand Prix, and a lot of it's going to take place in the stewards' room. And one bloke will be sitting there staring at those 3 stewards, and his name is Ralf Schumacher.
You're just watching a replay of Ralf Schumacher blocking Rubens Barrichello, jumping the chicane, his 3rd infringement of the afternoon. Then Barrichello responds with a brilliant move around the outside into turn 1. Ralf Schumacher already under investigation for crossing the white line. Yet again, jumped the chicane and kept a position. So Ralf really in trouble this afternoon.
That was a fabulous move by Rubens Barrichello. He's certainly on top of his game at the moment. But Ralf Schumacher has so much to answer for in front of the stewards a little bit later on this afternoon. Louise Goodman, what can you tell us?
Well, I just popped my head into the Williams garage to see if they were indeed expecting a visit to the stewards for that overtaking move. Appeared like a complete no-brainer, but according to the Williams guys, Rubens Barrichello actually backed off as he was exiting the pit lane, so Ralf was really forced to overtake him to avoid going into the back of him.
Martin, you're pulling a funny face.
Yeah, because I'm laughing. It's... that's a good one, he backed off, yeah, sure. But I think Ralf, by Rubens getting through in turn 1, Ralf might just get away with that. But he's still under investigation anyway for crossing the white line on the way out of the pits. But it's a question of they would say that, wouldn't they, I think. And Jarno truly pitting. He was in 9th when he went in. Villeneuve's up there in 8th place now, having a reasonable afternoon quite quietly. Jenson Button is in 10th place. Again, having a tidy afternoon, but teammate Fisichella up in 7th.
Nick Heidfeld just at the bottom of your screen in the second of the 2 Saubers, rejoining after his 2nd pit stop. He's down in 11th place. We're looking down at Juan Montoya, and Ralf Schumacher had a bit of a roasting from Frank Williams and Patrick Head after the American Grand Prix. He was seriously underperformed there on a 2-stop strategy. All weekend the team had said he wasn't really at the races at all, and they had a very serious set 2. Interestingly though, this weekend in the press briefings that Frank Williams and Gerhard Berger of BMW have given, they've said that they've really backed Ralph up going into this weekend, because most of the media are really talking up Juan Montoya at the moment. In fact, I think everybody who loves Formula One is talking up Juan Montoya and talking down Ralf Schumacher. Very interesting to see the support there from Williams. As you can see, the back markers just making some passes amongst themselves. The support from Williams towards Ralf Schumacher. Lap 35 then. Michael Schumacher leading Montoya. The gap stable at 6.6 seconds. Nothing, it seems, the Colombian and the Williams can do will get him closer to the reigning world champion. Hakkinen third, Coulthard fourth, but they're 26 seconds down the road.
Yes, but that fourth place is all Coulthard needs to secure second in the World Championship, especially with Barrichello running behind him. And they've all got to make one more stop yet. I'm still convinced they can fuel Michael to the end. Rubin stopped too early on lap 15 to make that happen, in my view. But again, a reasonable stop for Villeneuve then. His second of the afternoon. He came in from 8th position.
If things stay as they are, just looking at the other scores that need to be settled here this weekend, as you can see, Villeneuve blending back in right in front of the race leader, Michael Schumacher, who hopefully will smartly get out of the way. Indeed he does. And Schumacher then about to lap everybody up to Jarno Trulli, would you believe? Trulli on a three-stop strategy as well. And certainly the three stoppers this afternoon do not seem to have had the advantage. But if everything stays the way it is, just talking about the championships and scores being settled, Sauber looks set to finish in 4th place. We saw Nick Heidfeld a moment ago. Pretty good effort this season by the Sauber team. And no threat at the moment from BAR or Jordan, who are the two teams that had a potential opportunity to get ahead of them. Now then, what's the news? 10-second stop-and-go penalty for car 14. And that is Verstappen. That's for overtaking on the formation lap. It's taken them a while to suss that one out, hasn't it?
Certainly has, hasn't it? That's all of 36 laps ago. So good effort there by somebody to obviously been scratching their chins on that one for a long time. I don't know why it's taken so long. I thought there was a time limit on when you could get a penalty like that. I thought it was 20 minutes, actually.
I'm sure Verstappen feels so. I'll tell you what they've been doing. They've been wondering what Ralf Schumacher's up to for most of the afternoon, haven't they?
That's true.
They've had a lot to entertain them.
They've been behind closed doors, haven't they? So Benetton then ready for a Fisichella pit stop. He was 7th when he came in. We haven't seen the race pace we probably expected from this Benetton compared to their stunning 6th and 9th on the grid, of course, but a reasonable stop. And this then is surely Michael's second stop and final stop, hopefully, of the afternoon for him. And approaching the pit garage. It's a long pit lane here in Suzuka. It's quick in. It's a long way down, and they've flipped it around this year, so the front runners are all down at the far end, and of course it is Michael Schumacher. What are they going to do about this? I think they're going to have to put a good 9 seconds worth of gas in it this time around, otherwise he'll be going for a splash and dash at the end. Well,
no, that's enough. That's about 50 kilos of fuel, I believe, that's gone in. Is he going to rejoin in front of the McLaren? He can't cross that white line, and Hakkinen sweeps through into 2nd place. Michael Schumacher then down to 3rd. Juan Montoya is once again the leader of this race.
That's the second time this afternoon then that Schumacher's pitted and just come out behind Mika Hakkinen. Remember, they're having a real old ding-dong battle until Hakkinen pitted. So
and this really plays into Montoya's hands now, doesn't it? He's got a car between himself and the erstwhile race leader Michael Schumacher. This is the 6th change of leadership so far this afternoon, and this is Montoya's opportunity. We saw him pitting later than Michael Schumacher first time round. Michael Schumacher made his first stop on 17, Montoya on 21. There's 4 laps now in which Montoya has an opportunity to win this Grand Prix, his 2nd Grand Prix of the season, if he can do it. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one to call this afternoon, but clearly Montoya needs to pump some stunning laps in now up till his stop. Tell you what, there's not going to be much gas left in that Ferrari at the end of the race. I think they've been absolutely on the limit of how much fuel. I expected a half second more fuel in that on each of his 2 stops so far, but there then is your race leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. He has cleared the traffic. Let's see what it cost him in lap time. He's been lapping in the 137s, and this time around it's again a mid-37, so the traffic cost him absolutely nothing. Montoya needs to put in 4 or 5 stunners now, and he can win this race.
He really does. We're waiting to see what the gap is between him and Michael Schumacher when Schumacher crosses the line this time, because that'll give us an indication of whether he already has enough time to make that stop, or exactly how much he's got to make up in order to make it stop. 21 seconds at the moment Montoya has. He's going to need 24 to safely come in and make a stop. That's the target.
A lot of traffic though, and I'm hearing that Williams are coming out into the pit lane. We think it could be for Montoya because it's not working out. But when he needs clear track, he's already passed one car. Here's another now. It didn't cost him much time, but there's yet another Jordan in front of him. So maybe they're going to play a tactical move and bring him in slightly earlier.
A moment ago, Martin, I'm sure I heard you say you expected to see a half-second more fuel going in. I mean, half seconds are what we talk about on racetracks in terms of what you need in qualifying. We talk about refueling, and that really is marginal, isn't it?
It is, but you're talking of, what, 12, 13 litres per second of fuel flowing in. But I just expected a 9-second stop that time around. But you don't know how much Michael had in when he started the race, but he quite clearly stopped earlier than any of the other two stoppers. But Montoya then has cleared the BAR. We saw that happen, has not cleared the Jordan. Will have to go through the chicane, and the pit entry is just on the exit and bouncing across the curb. He knows he's got to get on with it, and that's a frustrating time for him. Ted is down there.
So, Martin, Williams' hopes rest on this man, the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. He needs to now deliver a result for him because of Ralph's crazy day. I haven't seen him in the pit lane. Here he is. No, he comes into his box, stops well, the tyres are well worn, and the fuel hose is on. There's no problems there. Another set of scrubbed Michelins on for that. The fuel hose is off as McLaren are ready now. Juan Pablo Montoya away, and expect McLaren in very shortly.
But out in front goes Michael Schumacher again, retakes the lead for the third different time this afternoon, but at least Montoya gets out in front of Häkkinen. So Montoya maintains his second place, but unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to capitalise on that opportunity.
Yes, so Michael does lead. He was behind Häkkinen on the previous lap, but Häkkinen has also pitted. So Michael then back in the lead of the Grand Prix. But he, Michael then clearly has maintained that advantage.
He has indeed. It was Coulthard that Montoya emerged in front of, although it was Häkkinen going into that lap who was behind Michael Schumacher. In fact, he dived into the pits as we saw, so it's all shaking out here. We said Grand Prix racing was boring.
Another rip-off came off there for Michael Schumacher. I saw Montoya pulling at one, coming down the pit lane. When you're going slowly, you have to be so careful that doesn't get sucked into your airbox and it sits on the filter and can hamper the rest of your afternoon. You have to be very careful when you get rid of those rip-offs, especially at low speed. So how is it all going to shake out? Only one of the top four yet to make another pit stop is David Coulthard. Barrichello not making any progress down there, back in fifth, lapping about the same pace as the McLarens, but 15 seconds behind. No sign of any further penalties for Ralf Schumacher. We know he's still under investigation for crossing the white line.
So Montoya second, Häkkinen third. You don't see him, you're seeing Coulthard on the road at the moment. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? He does. So that will put Häkkinen back into third place. So David Coulthard out of position due to the fact that he hadn't made his second and final pit stop. Montoya, though, well, traffic will definitely be a story of the race for him. He could have had an opportunity to win this race, but so many cars in front of him when that opportunity presented itself. Coulthard in there.
Right, so Montoya then, he was 6.3 down when this pit stop series started, and now he's 5 seconds behind leader Michael Schumacher. He couldn't go far enough to make the difference. Ralf in then for his second and final stop of the afternoon. As I said, no sign of any further penalties from him. He came in 6th place, of course. He did have a stop and go, cost him 26 seconds, and that's why he's out of position, really. He's down in 6th place.
Lap 40, 13 to go here in Suzuka. Michael Schumacher leading, but the gap is the smallest it's been all afternoon, pretty much since the start. Just 5 seconds between himself and Juan Montoya. Let's hope we're going to go out on a high here at the final race of the championship between the two drivers who many predict will be duking it out next year for the World Championship. Third, Coulthard. Fourth, Barrichello. Fifth, Häkkinen. Sixth, Ralf Schumacher. Tell you what, Martin, when the newspaper writers come to do the story of this race, I don't think 400, 600 words is going to cover it, is it? They're going to need about 2,000. I mean, pick the bones out of this one.
I know, it's certainly been moving around a lot, hasn't it? And it's still, I think, it's still there to be won for Montoya, but he's got to match and pass Michael Schumacher. I think he's had slightly the faster car, but he's lost 1.2 seconds on that lap for some reason. Was it the arrows I can see in the background that he had to pass? And Michael then beginning to stretch that lead one more time.
Now, it was you, I think, Martin, yesterday in the commentary who said that Michael Schumacher very cleverly saved himself 3 new sets of tyres for this afternoon. We've seen the Bridgestone tyre performing extremely well when it's fresh, as opposed to the Michelin, which needs to be worn down a bit. It seems that 3rd set was critical for him, wasn't it? Because this is where he's really using him in the 10 or 12 laps or so after his 2nd pit stop. This is where those fresh tyres have really come into their own. He's able to just hold Montoya just enough off. Montoya's just tried everything this afternoon. He's been nibbling away at the lead. He's cut it in half at times, but still it remains doggedly around 6 seconds.
But will he have to come in again? Will he need a splash and dash near the end? You've got to assume not, but it's not absolutely out of the question, is it? He'll lose the race if he does. I'm assuming he can go to the end now, and that they did swerve their strategy. This will be Barrichello's 3rd and final stop of the afternoon then. So Ferrari mechanics getting ready, I'm sure, for Rubens Barrichello's. He's on a 3-stopper. This car should pass the pit lane entry and does so. That of leader Michael Schumacher, 6.4 ahead last time around. He's already 4/10 up on this lap he's just completed. So Montoya slipping back.
Well, you might argue that Barrichello might have switched back to a 2, but we'll never really know. Lap 42, just 12 laps remaining, and this race still up for grabs between Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya. Although you have to say Michael Schumacher has eked out the advantage a bit by 1.7 seconds. Meanwhile, Rubens Barrichello in from 3rd place for his 3rd and final stop. A decent stop by Ferrari. He blends back in again, down in around about 5th place, I think, maybe 6th place. We'll find out when the computer sorts itself out. There's Mika Häkkinen. Now he's promoted to 3rd place, a podium position possibly on his last Grand Prix outing for a little while. He's been on the podium here for the last 6 years, Mika Häkkinen. Is he going to make it 7 in a row? Terrific drive by him today, but unseen really to a large extent by everybody else. Led the race very briefly during Michael Schumacher and Montoya's pit stops. Never quite a contender for victory, but going well in 3rd place.
Yes, but some 23 seconds down, and of course the 2 McLarens 1.2 and 1.5 away from Michael Schumacher's pole position, so they've got to play catch-up this winter, and somehow the other teams are going to move forward as well, so a lot of work to do for McLaren and Mercedes-Benz to close that kind of gap. I know they're doing a lot of work on that, and there's a good chance they can find a big chunk of that. And Häkkinen then, look, 16 seconds away from 2nd place Montoya. Not a bad afternoon. Coulthard in a solid 4th place behind him, looking strong for 2nd in the World Championship. But as you say, Mika is a specialist around this racetrack. And are we watching the great Finn in his final turn of a Formula One steering wheel?
I don't think so. I've given up trying to second-guess Mika Häkkinen. I have a hunch that he may well be back. I have a hunch that after about 3 or 4 months of the easy life, playing with his young son Hugo and drinking caipirinhas with his wife Aya on the beach in Monaco, he'll think, you know something? Something's missing from my life, and it's going quickly round corners. I have no doubt that he'll be back. David Coulthard, incidentally, said yesterday he'd love to see Mika come back during next season to do some testing for McLaren, to give him an idea of how the car's developed, a fresh pair of eyes and ears, if you like, coming in, which is an interesting insight, I thought. Certainly Mika said he plans to attend Grand Prix next year in McLaren team gear and still on the pit wall from time to time and watch. Not all the races, but a few of them. What's your thought?
Well, I'm sure if Häkkinen comes back to Formula One, it'll have to be in a McLaren. I would be amazed if this sabbatical has not tied him into coming back only at the wheel of a McLaren. And that'd be that man there, Ron Dennis, who will have, along with Martin Whitmarsh and McLaren, who will have organised that. But I could well see him turning up to a few Grand Prix, and certainly he's got a lot of experience. And Coulthard and Häkkinen, they started off with a very difficult relationship, but they've, over the years, and of course it's a record partnership they've had, and they've really become quite good mates, and they work well together. So I'm sure David would be pleased of a bit of assistance from Mika from time to time.
Yeah, 30 Grand Prix they've won together in the last 6 seasons. Pretty remarkable statistic. They've led 33% of all the racing laps since their partnership was formed. It's the longest running Formula One duo in the history of the sport. 6 years together, David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen. Next year, we're going to see Kimi Raikkonen taking this car over. He's not had the day he wanted to so far, Kimi Raikkonen. A big accident with Jean Alesi in the early laps of this event. But we're now on lap 44, just 9 to go.
Well, the computer screen has looked like a fruit machine all day long, hasn't it? Tumbling and turning around as they coming in for pit stops. 4 different leaders of the Grand Prix, but it's beginning to settle down now. Michael Schumacher's pulling away from Montoya, and the lead is now 8.4 seconds. Why is Montoya's pace falling away? I don't know. They're in the 1 minute 38, 39 for Häkkinen last time around, and 1 minute 37 for Coulthard. He is chasing down Häkkinen. He wants that podium place. That'll be a good finish to the end of the year. So the biggest fight on the track at the moment is probably between the 2 McLarens. Further down the field, Villeneuve in 10th place is just a few tenths behind Trulli in 9th. But another disappointing race for Jarno Trulli, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Really does not inspire you. It's almost like he paces himself in a race. Why can't he show that blistering speed of qualifying for 53 consecutive laps on a Sunday afternoon? That's what he's paid to do. He's off to Benetton, and I'm sure Briatore will be no more pleased than Eddie Jordan if he doesn't deliver up on race day.
Yeah, there's a lot expected of him in the team, which is going to be cool come Renault next year. Benetton, of course, bowing out here in Suzuka, and next year it'll become Renault, and Trulli expected to really come up with the goods. As you say, he seems to have these lapses of concentration during a Grand Prix, but you're looking now at Juan Montoya just taking 0.4 of a second out of race leader Michael Schumacher, but only with 9 laps remaining, Schumacher can afford almost to give away a second a lap to the Colombian and still win this race. Well, 10 out of 10 for trying, Juan Pablo. You really have given us some superb entertainment. Look at that. What a great guy. He's giving it one, isn't he, around this circuit. He's not going to give up. And that's one thing that's characterised Michael Schumacher really in the last 10 years of his career. He never gives up until he sees a checkered flag, and now we've got another one. And Mika Häkkinen to some extent was like that as well, but this guy just does not give up, does
I'd be amazed if he's not a Formula 1 world champion at some point. And apparently I was talking to one of his good friends the other day, he said, oh yeah, he's moaning and bitching about some understeer. I'm thinking, you what, you've got to be joking. I've never seen him anything other than sideways. So Montoya does love to hustle a car along, and it's certainly such a pleasure to watch him do that. But the lead then remains at exactly 8 seconds last time they passed the start-finish line.
Talking a moment ago about records, the record partnership of Coulthard and Häkkinen, a few other records today. If Michael Schumacher stays where he is, he becomes the record points scorer ever in the history of the championship. And another record I reckon must be coming up, Martin. There's only 19 cars retired from this race out of the 22 starters. That's got to be some kind of record, hasn't it?
3 retired, I think, 19 left.
3 retired, 19 left.
Yeah, but will that be a record number of wins in a season as well for Michael Schumacher?
No, this is his 9th. He's done it twice before. 10 would have been the record, but obviously the dip in form he suffered in Monza and Indianapolis accounted for any possibility of him overtaking that record. It's a run he shares, incidentally, with Nigel Mansell back in 1992. Nigel won 9 races in that all-conquering active suspension Williams. Now, Williams are certainly on their way back again now. They've got 2 extremely competitive, feisty young drivers in Juan Montoya and Ralf Schumacher, both 26 years of age. And Montoya at the moment going out of the 2001 season very much on top in this team. Started it being quite surprised by the pace of Ralf Schumacher, who pulled out 0.3 of a second on him, more than he expected in the opening qualifying session of the Australian Grand Prix. Since then he's clawed his way back. He's had a few difficult times. The Monaco Grand Prix wasn't a very good one for him. Canada, he was appalling, got himself into a bit of a knuckle duster with Jacques Villeneuve as well, as I recall. But since then he's had a good look at himself, and he's come back very strong, no doubt about that. He's had 3 pole positions, he's had a win. He might well feel he could have had a win here today, but traffic, strategy, missed opportunities accounted for any possibility of that. It's the closing stages of the 2001 Japanese Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher heading possibly for his 9th victory of the season. Not a record, he's done it twice before in this amazing career of his. Can Juan Montoya do anything about it? Well, answer possibly. 9/10 of a second on that lap the Colombian took out of Michael. Is the German backing off? Is Montoya on fire? We're going to find out in the next 7 laps, but Schumacher coming up against traffic now in the form of Villeneuve and Jarno Trulli. This is the scrap for 9th place. Behind Schumacher and Montoya, Hakkinen and Coulthard half a minute behind. It's just between these two now in the last 7 laps of the race.
Yeah, come on, Montoya, make it worth the Brits getting up early in the morning to watch you. He is certainly pulling in. Down from 8 odd seconds to 6.2. He's a 10th up in the first sector of the current lap that they're on. We'll be getting a second sector time quite soon. Michael has now gone through that, but as you said, 2 pieces of traffic ahead of him that are in their own particular squabble, and Montoya takes another 6/10 out in the middle sector. Look, the gap down to 5.6, so suddenly a resurgence from him just at the same time as Michael gets traffic. Villeneuve is going to yield easily down the pit straight. That helps Michael Schumacher enormously. And now he's broken that squabble up. He should easily clear the Jordan of Trulli as well. So Montoya, 5.4 seconds behind as he went over the line.
Can he be more aggressive through the traffic than Michael Schumacher? It's hard to believe us even saying those words, because nobody in the last 10 years has been more aggressive through traffic than Michael Schumacher, ever since Ayrton Senna was sadly killed in '94. But look at that, just carves his way around the outside. A fair degree of compliance, though, from Jarno Trulli, you have to say. Will he be as compliant when Montoya comes through? Montoya has 3 cars to pass as Villeneuve tries to take advantage of Trulli's generosity. That's the battle for 9th place, with Heidfeld also in the scrap now. Look at that.
2 more great scraps on the racetrack. 3rd place man Hakkinen just half a second ahead of 4th place man Coulthard. 5th man Barrichello just 0.8 ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who appears to have got away with all of his earlier misdemeanors.
Was that Fisichella slowing down from 7th place? I believe it was. They just sailed past the Benetton.
It could have been Fisichella or Button.
Could have been either of them.
Yes, they're 7th and 8th, so could have been either one of the 2 Benettons. Button has had a decent afternoon, lapping just at the moment 2.2 seconds behind Fisichella. Which one of those Benettons did we see trailing out of the corner of the picture? And there is Montoya then coming up to those 3 cars he must lap with great urgency.
It's going to be a showdown finish here at Suzuka. Juan Montoya is pushing as hard as he possibly could. Took 9/10 of a second out of Michael Schumacher through the traffic on that lap. 5.4 seconds the gap. 5 laps remaining. Can he get through those 3 cars better than Michael did? Can he close them down? Because Schumacher has more traffic ahead of him. It's a real edge of the seat finish to the Formula 1 Championship. Look at the brake disc just glowing bright red. He's pushing very hard.
5.1 seconds and 3 back markers. That's the problem. And he's meeting them in the snake through 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 turns. And then this is not a good part of the racetrack to catch traffic, no doubt about it. You've got the 2 Degners ahead of you at the top of this hill, then underneath the flyover into the hairpin. There is the sign that Michael Schumacher has just received, but this is the view ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya in terms of 3 cars to lap. And Coulthard has passed Hakkinen. He was alongside him going on the pit straight, absolutely identical times, and it was indeed Fisichella pulling out of the race. Button up to 7th, and we think Coulthard has probably moved up to 3rd out of view of the cameras.
So no podium for Mika Hakkinen on his possible Grand Prix finale, but here's Montoya. He's not finished yet. Well, the Williams team call him the Monster. Can he live up to his nickname when it comes to back markers? We're about to find out as Michael Schumacher goes into 130R for the 49th time of this 53-lap Japanese Grand Prix, and Montoya has got it down to 5.1 seconds.
1 down, 2 to go though on the traffic. See, he's only passed one of those 3 in a complete 3.6-mile lap of the circuit. So there are the 2 McLarens, the second one of which is now Mika Hakkinen, and I don't know if he has gremlins. Hakkinen was slow in sector 1, he looks slow in sector 2, so is Hakkinen going to have some kind of problem just at the end of what may be his final Grand Prix, but certainly his final Grand Prix for a while?
Well, he may have only passed 1 car in that last lap, Juan Montoya, but he's got the gap down to 4.5 seconds. He took another 8/10 of a second out of Michael Schumacher, even though he had lap traffic to get through. Just listening there, Martin, were you?
I was just listening. He doesn't seem to be really hard on it, does he? Hakkinen is losing an awful lot of time. He's lost half the pit straight in a lap to Coulthard, so either he's just backed off to give Coulthard the point, which is no longer necessary because Barrichello is completely out of play down in 5th place. That's the scrap for 2nd in the World Championship. It has surely gone Coulthard's way, but Coulthard then up onto the podium. And what is this battle here that we're looking at? It is a Williams... what are we looking
Behind
at
a Ferrari.
here?
It could be the battle between Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah.
That's the battle for 5th place.
Yeah, half a second between them. You're right, it is Ralf who has been relentlessly moving in on Rubens Barrichello in the last few laps.
Well, Ralf Schumacher lucky to escape with only one steward's warning and a 10-second stop-and-go penalty this afternoon. A variety of misdemeanours, one of which was clearly pardoned, which was when he seemed to cross the white line as these two cars with Barrichello in front emerged from the pit lane. We heard from Louise Goodman that the Williams team believe Rubens Barrichello lifted off as if he would deliberately lift off on the exit of a pit lane. Who knows what happened there, but Ralf Schumacher seemed to put a couple of wheels across the white line. Anyway, the steward saw fit not to penalise him, and so it looks as though he will end up with a World Championship point for 6th place, but he's trying to get 2 by getting ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Meanwhile, the battle at the front, Michael Schumacher has increased the lead by 6/10 of a second, so he's starting to smell the victory champagne, feel a little bit more comfortable. He has not got the 26-year-old Colombian breathing down his neck as much as he did before. Sublime performance again from Michael Schumacher, but you have to say a sublime performance as well by Juan Montoya. 3 laps to go, Martin. A very difficult one, this. Who's your driver of the day?
It's got to be Michael, hasn't it? I mean, a stunning pole, head and shoulders above anybody else. Led into the first corner, really a decent strategy. I think they covered themselves each way on a 3-stopper and a 2-stopper, stretched it out to a 2. We're sure he won't have to stop again. Well, it'd be amazing if he does. It'll be a real faux pas if he has to stop again. And what are we watching here? We're watching a replay of Villeneuve spinning in the final chicane, and that won't do his fight with truly any good at all. And I think he's now also lost out to Heidfeld. Heidfeld taking over 9, Villeneuve slipping back down to 10th. And now we have a 4th retirement in this race. Enger has pulled out of the race in the Prost. So Enger, Irvine, Raikkonen and Lacey, who crashed into each other earlier in the race when Raikkonen lost the car. Lacey had to go off the track with him in sympathy. So still 18 runners.
Amazing, isn't it? But that often happens in the last race of the championship. Cars by now should be reliable if they're ever going to be.
Got to add 2 more to that. Who one we've just seen in the pits. Of course, he's not showing us out of the race yet, but Fisichella is out of the race, and so is the 2nd Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa. We think he too has pulled into the pits and out of the race.
2 laps remaining. Juan Montoya now 6 seconds behind the race leader Michael Schumacher. Can he do anything in the dying moments of this championship season? The dying moments of this race. 2 laps to go. Coulthard 3rd, 27 seconds behind this amazing scrap we've had this afternoon for the lead. Hakkinen, as we saw and Martin mentioned, just seeming to be losing some pace. Barrichello 5th, Ralf Schumacher 6th. Ted Kravitz is down in the pits.
Yes, James, I have asked a couple of people at McLaren whether they've heard something over the radio, whether there was a deal between Coulthard and Hakkinen. They said they haven't heard anything. But if you look at Mika's lap time, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. So I'm not sure if he has got a problem. Could this be, I wonder, Mika's way of giving DC back a present on his last race for McLaren? That's Mika's last race for McLaren. For all those times DC's given Mika a present to help him with the championship.
Well, it's possible, but I think Hakkinen would have liked to have been on the podium for his final Grand Prix, no doubt about it. He's lapping some 2.5 seconds off the pace. Maybe he just wanted to call it a day a couple of laps early because, as you say, he's still running, no signs of any smoke or any problems out of the car. So Hakkinen remains in 4th place with Barrichello and Schumacher. Ralf, that is, just 6 seconds behind him in 5th and 6th.
Well, Martin said that the computer was acting like a fruit machine throughout this race as the places changed. We've had 4 different race leaders. Michael Schumacher has lost and regained the lead on 3 separate occasions as Montoya chips away at the advantage, but Schumacher led away from the start, very aggressive, sweeping across the bows of Juan Montoya, who was starting from the second place on the grid. Rubens Barrichello made a bold move to get past Montoya, but he retook him for second place in the early stages. A big accident on lap 5 between Jean Alesi in his final Grand Prix and Kimi Raikkonen, who's off to McLaren next year. Schumacher made his first pit stop on lap 17. It seemed early, we wondered whether he was on a 3-stopper, but in fact he was on a 2. We've had Montoya leading, we've had Ralf Schumacher leading, we've had Mika Häkkinen leading as well. We've had stop-and-go penalties from Ralf Schumacher, we've had drama, we've had excitement, we've had speed, and we've had a world champion who came into this race on top, who looks like he's going to go out of this race on top, because Michael Schumacher really has been the class of the field this year and this afternoon, hasn't he, Martin?
He certainly has, and he's going to be just about double the points of second-place man Coulthard. I think that shows what I was saying earlier on in the programme. It's really the first time we've seen Michael, who's at the top of his form and I think the best driver in the world, no doubt about it, in the best car, and that is the dramatic effect. He is going to be some 58 points clear of second-place man Coulthard and some 60-odd clear of his teammate.
Hats off then to Juan Montoya for putting up a great fight this afternoon, but it's Michael Schumacher who takes the last record that Alain Prost held as the record points scorer of all time. It's now Michael Schumacher's. All the significant records have fallen to the German in the last few months. Michael Schumacher wins the Japanese Grand Prix for the second year in succession, his 9th win of the championship season. A brilliant performance. Juan Montoya crosses the line after a stellar drive in second place, and we wait now for David Coulthard, who will grab the final podium position, and there he is. A great season for David Coulthard. He thought he might have had a chat at the championship, but he hasn't won a race since Austria, and really mechanical problems put paid to him. Mika Häkkinen, in possibly his last Grand Prix, comes across the line in 4th place. What a breathtaking and thoroughly exciting Japanese Grand Prix, Martin.
Well, it certainly was changing around, wasn't it? Strategy played a part. Michelin tyres coming in later in the race certainly, as ever, put Williams in with a shout, but Michael has been too strong for them all weekend, right from the first lap of free practice.
Wow. What a great race. Schumacher managing to contain his enthusiasm at the moment. He's almost got used to this now, hasn't he, really? 53 Grand Prix victories, I believe it is now, to his credit. 9 this season alone. How many more will he win? How many more championships does he have the hunger to try and win? Who's his next great rival now that Mika Häkkinen is going away for the year? Is it going to be David Coulthard next season? Is it going to be Juan Montoya next season? Certainly looks like he'll give him a fight if he has a half-decent motor car under him. But what about his own brother, Ralf Schumacher? Will he challenge Michael next year? What do you reckon?
Ralph's done the same this year as he did when Jenson Button came on strong. He falls away when his teammate gets strong. Seems like he looks over the other side of the pit garage much too often. But Ralph does have the speed, we know that. Coulthard's got to step up to the plate, no doubt about it, in the next couple of years, and I know he can do so. Montoya is looking supremely good, but a lot of kids coming along. Raikkonen coming in, and Sato, and some fresh blood coming along too.
Some very exciting drivers. Felipe Massa, who will be racing next year for Sauber, already set times in a Sauber around the Ferrari test track that are faster than Michael Schumacher's. Imagine that. There you have confirmation of the top point scoring positions then. Coulthard grabs that podium. Häkkinen, it wasn't to be on his final outing. Barrichello drove well today on arguably not the right strategy. He's basically ended up more or less where he started. In fact, he and Häkkinen have swapped positions. The big winner today from his grid slot was Coulthard, who started quite a way down. He's done well to get up to 3rd place, and his team owner, Ron Dennis, is down in the pit lane with Ted Kravitz.
Ron, a podium for David Coulthard, but I think your thoughts are about your other driver today.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Are your thoughts about Mika today, his last race for you for a while?
Hope he enjoys his holiday. You know, he just helped David a little bit there, just to gave him a bit of an insurance policy on his 2nd place in the championship. We're pretty pleased with their strategy, but not great grid positions. So 3rd and 4th is something, not much, but something.
And a solid race from Coulthard, ending up on the podium like that?
Yeah, they both drove pretty well. It was, you know, it was a interesting strategy that Ferrari had with Barrichello, but it quickly worked out what happened, and good reliability from everybody. So at the end of the day, we, you know, it was a credible 3rd and 4th.
Of course, that gives David second in the championship. Does that mean anything to you or him?
I think it means more to him than to us, but that's what that's what he drives for. So we're pleased for him. Second in the constructors as well. I mean, it's not great, it's not good enough, but it's at least it gives us a starting point for next year.
I'm sure you'll come back stronger in Melbourne, Ron. Thanks very much.
Well, we've heard him sound a bit more excited than that in the past, haven't we, Martin?
No doubt about it. I think Ron realises it's a long, hard winter ahead for his team to regain the initiative they have held in the past. But, in the end, Häkkinen thought 12 seconds behind Coulthard, almost like he just faded away in those last few laps. He'd had enough.
Well, it wasn't a championship decider today. This man already clinched that back in August, would you believe, in Hungary, and don't we know it. But today was all about Michael Schumacher. I can tell you the crowd was 150,000 people here. Not since, well, a decade ago has Formula One been so popular, so fashionable in Japan. We've got Honda coming in next year, Toyota, Takuma Sato as well as a driver. But this really has been all about this man, Michael Schumacher. A fabulous drive. There's Rubens Barrichello. As Ron Dennis said, I don't think 3 stops was the answer today. And there's David Coulthard, who finished 3rd, also congratulating the winner.
Well, exciting news is about 6 hours from now, Michael Schumacher will be singing old Beatles songs in the karaoke cabin and 3 parts drunk, and by midnight he'll be fully drunk.
And you'll be with him, presumably?
No, I'll be having quiet dinner somewhere.
Of course you will, of course you will. There's Mika Häkkinen. He'll be having many quiet dinners in the next 12 months with his family. Just thinking a little bit. He had some high points here, didn't he? 1998 and 99, both championships clinched, both times, finishing in this Parc Fermé with a massive smile on his face, as we well remember. I don't think we've seen the last of Mika Häkkinen, though. Interestingly also, Martin, Michael Schumacher revealed the other day that he's going to take part in a round of the World Kart Championship, would you believe? He's going to take on all the young guns, the 16, 17-year-olds that he used to be himself many years ago. Not got much to gain from doing that, but well, a good sport, isn't he, for taking them on?
Fantastic. It shows you he's got a pure love of driving, and I think that's why he's still so fast for so long. You see no signs of Michael's enthusiasm fading, and as you said, he's not got much to gain and an awful lot to lose if the kids beat him at the kart track.
There you are, confirmation then that Sauber have had their best ever season in Formula One. What a great effort there to beat the BAR, Honda, Jordan, Jaguar and Benetton Renault, all of whom have substantially bigger budgets, don't they, than the little Sauber team from Switzerland. Hats off then to Peter Sauber and to his 2 drivers, Kimi Räikkönen and Nick Heidfeld. A great job by them. Bye-bye, Mika.
That 1 point then for Arrows there is crucial. It gets them in the travel money for next year, so European Minardi, the 11th team, and out of the money. Häkkinen making his way up the side steps to the podium procedure, and Ralf Schumacher stomping, and he's been stomping all over the place all afternoon, isn't he?
Stomping is a good word, actually, for Ralf Schumacher. He doesn't walk, he stomps, and he's going to be really stomping a lot. He's going to face like a smack bottom, hasn't he? And, well, he might have, because he's been outclassed this weekend, and really for the last 2 months by his teammate Juan Montoya. He's got a lot of hard thinking to do over the winter if he really wants to be the #1 top dog in the Williams team. A lot of indiscretions and misdemeanors by Ralf this afternoon, some sloppy driving around this Suzuka track, which he knows pretty well from his old racing days over here. But the podium then, ceremony is going to come up shortly, and Michael Schumacher will come out for the 9th time this season to collect the winner's trophy. There he is, no jump, yes the jump.
Same old story, isn't it? If you have 2 Williams, 2 Ferrari and 2 McLaren finishing, there's no points left for anybody else. That's what they suffer.
Well done, Michael. Now the Italian national anthem in honour of the constructor, Ferrari. on at the moment. The man on the right there is Stefano Domenicali. He's one of the top management men. He's very young, only just 30, as Schumacher collects the winner's trophy. But I believe that Domenicali could well be one of the man who takes over from Jean Todt when he retires as the boss of the Ferrari team. Sum up, though, for us, Martin, the achievement of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, not just today, but throughout the 2001 season.
The world's best driver in the world's best Formula One car dominates the World Championship. I just wish we'd have really seen him against Ayrton Senna.
Well, very succinct and very accurate indeed. Next year, let's hope we see him against Juan Montoya. Let's hope this man here gets a good car. BMW have already run their new engine for next year in the back of the car. Terrific effort already to have done that 2 days last week. So a lot expected from the team. Back in Grove, David Coulthard on the podium as well.
Coulthard's had some great races this year from relatively poor grid positions. He has managed to get up onto the podium, but clearly needs to have a car that's faster in qualifying next year. Champagne flowing, and Michael just turns his back to it.
A joyous end to what's been a really tremendous season of Grand Prix racing. Next year's going to be pretty good, I'm sure, as well. Will this man win again? Will Williams come through? And what about McLaren? So much to look forward to. Just 136 days away. We'll see you in Melbourne, won't we, Martin?
We certainly will, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these three drivers in 2002.
Enjoy your winter.
And it's welcome to the top three finishing drivers of the 2001 Japanese Grand Prix. It's Michael Schumacher, Juan Pablo Montoya and David Coulthard. Michael, many congratulations. A couple more records for you today. It's your 9th win of the season, equaling yourself and Nigel Mansell's record, and you've beaten Alan Prost's all-time point scoring record as well. Is this basically the perfect end to the perfect Formula One season for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, despite the records, to finish the season with a high in first position, that's what you wish to do, and then go to the long winter break we're going to face now. Obviously, we have had maybe 2 races being a little bit difficult for us, Monza and Indianapolis, and now we're back to normality, and that's a great end and a great result for a championship we have achieved to finish off the season for the team, for everyone.
Looking at the race, you leapt into an 11-second lead in the first 3 or 4 laps, but from then onwards it seemed a bit more difficult. Was that you managing the gap, or did the car go off a bit?
We had probably the advantage that we were fast in the first couple of laps from our tyres, which then remained very consistent, where maybe the other guys struggled a little bit in the beginning, but then started to be consistent, and the times started to match. And the point was that in both of the exit, I went out of the pits with my new set of tyre. I was always behind Mika, so I couldn't really use that advantage I seemed to have initially for the next 2 times. And so I kept the gap, obviously, to the same margin as before.
Michael, thank you. Juan Pablo, second place. Many congratulations on your first visit here. And a great battle with Rubens in the first couple of laps. Perhaps you can talk us through it.
Well, I think, it was a good race up to then. As you could see, Rubens was on new tires, I was on old tires. And the first few laps, as Michael said, is huge difference. He got by me into the chicane, but, he sacrificed the exit. And I had a good run on him into turn 1, passed him again. And since then, my tires started to come back a little bit, and I managed to pull away from him, and that was it with him.
I say second place here and fastest lap today. Can you sum up your rookie season for us?
I think it's been a good season. I think I was very unlucky in a lot of occasions that I could have had a very good result and the car broke down or something happened, and I think we missed a lot of points. But being my first season, I think it's pretty good.
Thanks, Juan Pablo. David, third place today has captured you second place overall in the championship. Is that a satisfactory end to what's been, I suppose, an unsatisfactory championship?
Yeah, this I did everything I could this year, and that was it. Second place was the best that I could do. Obviously a big gap to where Michael finished, and I think I was helped a little bit by Mika at the end there, who I think didn't want to come and have to talk to you this afternoon. So I thank him for that. But yeah, it's nice to finish the season, as Michael said, on the podium. To win would be fantastic, but I've never been that good around Suzuka, so I guess third isn't a bad result.
Did you know in advance that Mika was going to let you through? Was it like a thank you in some way for the way you helped do 98 and 99?
No, not at all. He's very quiet chap, so he doesn't give much away.
Thanks, David. Michael, you've really romped away to the championship this year, but how much tougher do you think it'll be next season?
We'll find out. I mean, I think it was a tough challenge. We had an easy run the first 2 races where we were very competitive and dominate, but then after that I thought it got very tight, and the races we won, we had to fight quite hard. We were lucky to do the season so early because of some misfortune for David, some mechanical problems he had, and therefore we finished the season early with the championship, but not because we were so dominant. And even now, if you look, it was a fight. In the end, it was no dominance we had. But the good thing is if you can keep the first position for you in the end. However.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for a great season. And now a word from Michael and Juan Pablo in your own languages, starting with Michael.
Was soll man groß sagen? Ich meine, das Rennen so zu beenden ist natürlich schon irgendwo ein schönes Resultat, vor allem nachdem wir 2 relativ schwierige Rennen in Monza und in den USA gehabt haben, gibt es keine bessere Möglichkeit, die Saison mit einem Sieg zu beenden, und insofern bin ich natürlich glücklich für mich, fürs Team, ein bisschen unglücklich für meinen Teamkollegen, der ein bisschen Pech heute hatte. Aber dennoch, ich glaube, wir können auf eine gute Zukunft vorausblicken. Unser Auto, unser Team, alles entwickelt sich in sehr guter Zuversicht, und das stimmt mich natürlich sehr motivierend für die Zukunft. Obwohl wir dieses Jahr schon ein sehr gutes Jahr gehabt haben, glaube ich nicht, dass man jetzt davon ausgehen kann, dass es nächstes Jahr eine einfache Meisterschaft wird. Da werden mit Sicherheit 2 Teams was dagegen haben, und insofern freue ich mich darauf, auf diese Konkurrenz, auf diesen Zweikampf oder Dreikampf, der es auch immer werden wird, und insofern wünsche ich allen eine schöne Zeit, einen schönen Urlaub, und wir sehen uns in alter Frische dann nächstes Jahr wieder. Danke.
Thank you, Michael. And Juan Pablo.
Pero yo creo que fue una buena carrera. Para terminar el año sí fue una cosa muy buena. El carro tuvo muchos problemas durante el año y perdió muchos puntos, pero de todas maneras fue, yo creo, un buen resultado. Ganamos una carrera este año y ya pues con el segundo puesto en esta carrera para cerrar el año, como dije, fue muy bueno, y pues eso, esperamos que el próximo año sea un poco mejor.
Thank you. General, thanks very much and see you in Melbourne. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.